I bought 1 million square feet, too many. What the ingredients are needed to become a guy who runs a almost $100 million portfolio.
How do you not take the advice when it's given to you? Do it immediately and then report back and ask for the next piece.
People study, but they're so scared to take any action. How do you have abundance mindset when you're lacking?
I know a lot of people who would risk their reputation over $100,000. I'm like, what is this guy doing?
Give them what they want.
Yeah, exactly.
While not surrendering what you need, right? Well, hello everybody. Today I have a special guest at our Value Add podcast, a guy by the name of Daniel Karkawski. In such young, he achieved such tremendous successes. I'm very proud of you. Please welcome Daniel Karkawski with Obsidian Value Add Fund.
Thanks, Rafik.
Yeah.
Good to see you, my friend.
It's been a while. We don't talk anymore.
I know.
We should
I
talk
saw
more.
you every week for years.
Well, at least when you call me now, you're interested in buying something of mine. So I'm like, hey, maybe there's an excuse for us to get together.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyhow, I met Daniel in 2017. He was a residential agent for VSM Realty. Some of our friends in VSM are doing really well as well. And I remember when I met you, you seemed like a very energetic, very like high IQ individual. And I was like, man, this guy's going to go far. And at that time, I said, you should consider getting into commercial real estate.
Yeah.
So
that's exact. I'll never forget one of the things that you said that jumped out to me so quickly, which is you did a presentation. You were very gracious, and you came and you talked to our entire company. There were probably a dozen agents or so, and you said, let me turn on the reticular activation in your brain. These types of deals, this is what we're looking for in commercial real estate. And don't worry, you're protected. Do you think that I would ever risk my reputation over something small like a $100,000 fee? And I was like, I know a lot of people who would risk their reputation over $100,000. I'm like, what is this guy doing? So then, I made it my mission to bother you as much as I could and try and learn what you were doing. And when you explained it to me, it made such an impression. You were so generous with your time. You suggested I go to Commercial Academy, get into CCIM. So I went and I did all those things immediately and was like, this is what I should be doing. So
one of the things about entrepreneurs that make it, because what I'm trying to do here with all this podcast is to create an understanding of what the ingredients are needed for people to become from a realtor to become a guy who runs a almost $100 million portfolio of real estate. It takes a certain level of charisma, growth, and in this particular case, curiosity. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I see in guys that do well is curiosity and desire for growth. And I talk to hundreds of people. I'm like, hey, you should do X, Y, Z, and 99% of them don't do it.
Right.
And then they complain. But you've done really well, and I'm very proud of you.
Well, I always think as a mentee, and thank you for that, but as a mentee, your responsibility, you're getting free advice from somebody who has way better things to do with their time. How do you not take the advice when it's given to you? Do it immediately and then report back and ask for the next piece.
You know what I learned actually, Daniel? Everything that's free has no value.
Right.
I started the coaching program and I did it for free for 2 or 3 months. And people show up, people don't show up. They really never took it seriously. And I was about to basically call it off and say, look, forget about it. This, people who need to learn will show up and we'll work with them. Mm-hmm. And then my assistant is like, dude, it's because you're not charging them, they're not taking it seriously. Let's charge something. And I didn't want to, these guys don't have any money and I don't want to take their last dollar. So I was like, dude, so we gave like a little fee. We lost half of the audience, but the remaining audience is excited and doing deals. So there is certain truth to it. And anything that's free has no value. So you got to charge.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So tell us more about Obsidian Value Add Fund and how can our viewers can add value to you and help you to grow your portfolio.
Yeah, so I always have to be a little bit cautious around the general solicitation rules, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So in general, our thesis is, small bay industrial is, in our market, very undersupplied. Mm-hmm. So what we saw was that demand for the space was just completely inelastic. Uh-huh. When we're talking about 2,000 to 3,000 foot suites, there's the cost of replacing them is astronomical. We can pick these buildings up for 50 to 60% of replacement cost. We also realized that the brokerage market wasn't set up to effectively lease these. Because
small commissions.
Yeah, small commissions, sometimes trickier clients, tenants, et cetera. And then if you think of the way that a large team is structured at one of the major shops, it's usually a 50% house cut off the top, and then it's a 3-person team leasing this space. They put the most junior guy on the smallest spaces. I mean, I've paid $1 million commission to a broker before for leasing a space. When we're talking about $5,000 going out the door on leasing a 3,000-foot bay, for example, it's like, okay, then there's the house cut. Then there's, the splits on the
Partners,
team.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of times it's like you're paying $5,000 for someone who's receiving $750.
Yeah, he's not interested.
Huge incentive misalignment. So no one worked those deals very aggressively. And then in the same vein, no one wanted to tenant rep these guys. So it's like, well, I own a brokerage. We own this product. Why does my brokerage need to make money when I can capture all of that in additional NOI, pay someone much more competitively so that they can be a 6-figure person, do leasing these small bays, and making it their primary focus. Then with the fact that no one's representing these tenants, it's like, how do we meet these tenants where they're at? And the answer is Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist. We'll get 170 inquiries on a building. One of the first deals we closed into our fund was we had 3-4 vacancies in it. We listed it on a Saturday night.
Maple Grove?
90,000,
yep.
We had 21 tours set up in the first week. We had proposals on every vacancy at above our pro forma rate in the first week.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And then the other nice thing is we've done a little bit of retail. In doing that, we got to see some of the tools that these retail guys use.
Yeah.
There's amazing AI tools available now. They'll go out and they'll comb Google based on addresses, pull all of that information based on the industry sector that they're in, and send them an automated email about availabilities. So if we're like, okay, we can take body shops, we have these, kind of uses that are generally undersupplied. Let's use this tool and make sure that everyone's aware of the availabilities that we have.
Is it RI squared?
Yeah, exactly.
We signed up for a national account, $1,000 a month. So we'll see. Very excited about that tool, by the way.
We've done multiple deals through that already.
Really?
So it's already paid for itself and then some.
For sure, yeah. That's awesome. Now that you run this massive portfolio, what do you do on a daily basis to scale it?
Yeah, so right now we're really focused. I partner with my wife as well, who has a long kind of construction and development background. But she ran a 60-person company for a decade. So now we're getting the policy systems in place that everything can become procedural. Everything is another one of these. So trying to get all of that implemented. But right now with the horsepower we have a lot of room to run still. So it's really just how do we systematically break down the market, identify all the high-value targets of buildings that meet our acquisition criteria, regularly stay in front of those people that own those buildings, because you can't ever really convince someone to sell. Maybe you can. You're the best at that in the world.
Give them what they want.
Yeah, exactly.
While not surrendering what you need, right?
Exactly. So I have questions about that. Like, how do you move people towards transactions? But it's looking for those acquisitions, and then, as you know, as a principal, our job is everybody's job when there's a problem too. So building out the leasing process, making sure that runs as efficiently as it possibly can, dealing with accounts receivable sometimes. There's times where things need to get elevated above a property manager, and we're getting paid an asset management fee. You might as well earn it and go deal with those tenants. So that's a lot of my time.
What's your target IRR for the fund?
17 to 21%.
All right.
Yep.
Any preferred return you offer or what?
We offer a 7, yes.
7% preferred return, and what are the splits? GPLP splits?
70-30, and if we get to a 20% IRR to the LP, then it goes to a 50-50.
50-50. Nice. Beautiful. Good waterfall. I might consider investing.
Oh, awesome.
I'm in the stage of my life where I want to do less and put some of my capital with my friends and help them to maximize that,
That'd be great.
IRR. One thing I was talking to you about is thinking outside the box. Now, you got to be careful because sometimes you get too creative outside of the box. You might just, lose everything. But for the first 7 years of my career in commercial real estate, everything I purchased was within 30 minutes of my home.
Sure.
Minneapolis.
Yep.
Minnesota, Twin Cities. And I didn't even consider going to St. Cloud, which is an hour away.
Yep.
Now, since 2019, when I met my first managing partner from Chicago, we own assets across 8 states. And mainly because we found local, really, really motivated guys, kind of like you, like excited and they needing some guidance, needing some capital or whatever. And we bought properties in Michigan and Ohio, Illinois, Wisconsin. I've learned a lot. Apparently, you can apply the same metrics, same rules, because demand-supply dynamic is different in every market. But I've been able to find some really, really interesting opportunities. And I will challenge you to think outside the box of Minnesota investing.
I certainly will. We've looked at a few other MSAs. My belief is to effectively compete in another market, I want to have a great depth of market knowledge there, because what we do effectively, our value add, so to speak, is just to outperform everybody else in the operations side with a main focus on leasing, because we see that market inefficiency across the board. When we looked at that market in Fort Myers, what we really saw was one, population growth. Nothing increases demand like population growth.
Yeah.
And if the inverse is super true, like I looked at some properties in Albert Lea,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, you can buy a house for $60,000 on the lake.
But
how come? Right, because
everybody's leaving. Nobody wants to live there.
right, if the stabilized population, I always think of it like this. It's like if there's a shortage of inventory in a market and people are growing in that market as well, the price of real estate moves very close to replacement cost.
Yeah.
It's some percentage, like what's the discount that you want to take an existing building versus building something brand new? So it pushes it there. Once you've filled all of the available land, then like Manhattan, for example, it's like then land value starts going parabolic and it continues to push value. But what I learned looking at small markets sometimes is it's like if you're at 100% stabilization, at some point people were building because the product exists. If you go to, I don't know what the number is, 85%, 90% of that demand, it craters. Like it is a hot potato where there's always, or like musical chairs, but there's just multiple empty seats all the time. It's like there's no stakes to the game. So you can get to like 25% of replacement cost, 20% of replacement cost really quickly.
Because nobody needs the product. Because demand is much lower than what the supply is.
Exactly. But it happens. It's not huge numbers. It's not like there's 20% demand for the amount of inventory. It's just these kind of small differences make a big difference over the long term. So I think you're really smart for continuing to seek places that have population growth.
If the growth is there. Although
I don't think the Twin Cities are that. I think that we have some headwinds that we're working through as well. I think we'll be stable, but that Fort Myers MSA is a 750,000 person MSA. The population of Minnesota is like 7 million.
Yeah.
We have the same projected population growth over the next 50 years.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Well, Florida has their own issues, such as insurance costs.
Yeah.
But let's go back to your original start. What was your first investment like? And tell us, how did you come up with the capital or ability to do it?
Yeah. So
what was the first deal?
The first deal, I started out in residential real estate, and I worked at VSM because the two owners, Ryan and Goran, were relatively young. They're younger than I am now, and they had a $10 million residential real estate portfolio. I'm like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
That seems like the way to go. So, I started working there. I was just picking up the phone and cold calling tenants and buildings and being like, do you want to buy your first house? I'd love to represent you. Let me help you. And at the same time, I would just bother Goran and Ryan nonstop. And I'm like, teach me everything that you're doing. How do you analyze deals? How do you underwrite these things? So they shared their model. I would just start analyzing every deal. Like,
nice.
I didn't know what I was doing. I just go on the MLS and I'd start plugging
This
all
is
the
houses
inputs
you're
in.
talking, right?
This was
Duplexes,
houses. Yep. So would go in and just, try and understand what I was doing. I ended up finding a property. They flipped it. They made like 150 grand. I made $1,800.
Okay.
I'm like, I want to do that.
So you were an agent. You found a house for them.
Yep.
They paid you a commission, and they made 150 grand on it.
Exactly. And I was probably 5 months into the business,
Right.
but I saw the value proposition. They were not allowing me space into the partnership at the time to realize any of the equity. So I was like, the next deal I find, I'm going to go just bother everyone I can talk to and see if I can't get the money together to go do this thing. I won't take a fee. We'll just do some profit share. So I started flipping houses that way. And
so you found the first house. Who was your first investor?
My family and I actually had some money. So
Nice.
I very quickly was making six figures in residential real estate, just being absolutely relentless. So I had some capital to put into it as well.
So it took a lot of action.
It took a lot of action, yes.
So one of the things
And a lot of fear, right? The first deal is terrifying.
One of the defining characteristics of anybody who is extremely successful, like you are at 36, running this huge portfolio, is desire and ability to take the relentless amount of action. Most people who don't understand what it takes to achieve tremendous success. I mean, if you look at United States population, average person makes $60,000 per year, and when you look at somebody who makes $100,000, well, that guy or gal does little more than the average guy. And then you talk to a $200,000 guy, $500,000 guy. Well, with our social media and Instagram, everybody sees the cream of the crop, people who make millions of dollars. And they make it seem like it's almost impossible to do it. But I feel like it's all in the amount of actions you basically precipitate to achieve the desired outcome. So, that's what my experience was.
To that point, one thing I was talking with my team about is I said, what do you think the average commercial real estate agent makes in the U.S.? And it's somewhere around $80,000.
For real? Oh, I didn't know.
And most people were overestimating that number. But my point of that was, I'm like, okay, what does an average police officer make, do you think? And, say the number's around $100,000. I'm like, if you want to be a broker who makes $100,000, you should have the subject matter expertise relative to your field that a police officer does for theirs. You should have that approach and attitude that you want to gain that degree of competency. If you want to make $250,000 a year, think about an attorney. That's like kind of an average attorney salary. You should go have the same amount of subject matter expertise in commercial real estate as a broker that they have in law. So I think it's really about
the amount of knowledge and awareness.
Yeah, and it's a combination of the two because it takes action to get the knowledge.
Yeah.
But when you're investing, I think you can contribute three things, right? You can contribute time, you can contribute expertise, or you can contribute capital. And capital is the hardest one to get if you don't have any.
In the beginning, right.
So everyone has time. What's the allocation of that time towards making money versus getting expertise to increase the value of your time?
In other words, what you want to advise people to do is to use their time to acquire that knowledge. And as you keep growing the knowledge base, your compensation per hour of energy exerted will increase. Something to that effect.
Yeah, and to say it's incumbent on you, like you're never going to get to that outcome of what your desired income is without having commensurate value. Like the market is pretty efficient, and the market meets you where you're at in terms of the value that you can create.
I will take the CCIM when I get my first class, building.
Yeah.
I'm going to go join Commercial Academy when I get my first building.
Yeah.
Let me find an investor first, and then I'll go learn the subject matter. Yeah. That's the other way around. You know what I'm saying? I think you have to do a lot of almost altruistic pursuit of knowledge in the hopes of being able to be awarded that contract, that investor, et cetera.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How do you convince someone that they should invest in your idea if your idea isn't fully formed and you're not familiar with all of the relevant pieces of information? That's
very interesting. That's very cool. All right, let's talk about your capital raising ambitions. By the way, are you with the fund is 506C?
Yes.
So you can market it.
I cannot.
Oh, you cannot market it.
Yes.
Mine is B.
So we might have to cut some of this, honestly.
All right, cool. No worries.
I'm sorry.
No. We're not talking about IRRs or anything. So my fund is 506B, and I can market it because I registered with SEC. We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is it's for friends and family right now only. All right. What drives you beyond just cold numbers?
I love it. It's fun. Doing these deals is fun. Solving problems is fun. there's so many variables always at play. You look at construction, like I get a very inside look at construction all the time. And when Jessie, my wife, is doing things, it's like there's so many line items that you're balancing and timelines. You have to build these complicated Gantt charts to make sure that you're on time, under budget, whatever you're trying to accomplish. It's like that ends up being one line item in what we do as developers, investors, et cetera.
There's multiple.
Right, we're navigating tenants, we're navigating feelings sometimes, the leasing team, the property management, all of the finances for it, the construction process. So it's just a really fun, complex problem to solve. But then at a certain point, there's a certain amount of freedom that you're given by having, some passive income, a lack of scarcity mindset. So then you can focus on things that are important to you, that change that you want to see in the world. So for example, like my wife is very interested in creating wellness centers around the state, but then the country and expanding that as well. I'm super interested in being one of the vehicles through which she's able to accomplish that.
What kind of a wellness center are you talking about? Like a Lifetime Fitness, LA Fitness type of thing, or
like sort of, so a spa, but then balancing in mental health. There's a lot of people who are living through all kinds of different trauma that they've experienced in their life, generational trauma, et cetera. So just getting them into a position to be mentally healthy so that they can feel comfortable. Like mental health is declining quickly in this country.
It's hard to be mentally healthy nowadays with being barraged by negative news on every single channel you turn on.
Yeah, there's no good news. Like,
oh my goodness, yeah. My wife started a clinic for longevity.
Congrats, that's cool.
Yeah, so I'm her patient.
It's working.
Patient one, the first patient. Yeah, so it's been awesome. My cholesterol has dropped. My testosterone has gone up. It's been pretty amazing. All right. If you had to start from scratch tomorrow, no contacts, no capital, what would you do in the first 90 days to get the highest amount of impact?
Yeah, so if I don't have the ability to pay the bills, I would immediately go out and start trying to broker, because I feel like that is the lowest risk, most immediate return.
Sounds like a realtor. You got a license and start working as a okay.
Absolutely. And then you're building contacts, you're building experience in that market. So in my mind, I'm in a completely different market too, because I've lost all my contacts. That's a great way to start building contacts.
Okay.
If you do a very good job for people who own buildings, most people who own buildings already have been successful at some stage of their life. And if you're a value add proposition in their life, they're usually willing to help you and offer some additional benefit. But I think the first thing I would do is start analyzing as much specific market information as possible. As a broker, as an investor, I think that's where a lot of the money is made. There's a lot of information that's publicly available that you can search online. That's available to everybody. You're not producing value by regurgitating what everybody else can already look up, particularly with the proliferance of AI right now. So go get the information. Think about what's the information that's not readily available that I can go get, share with people that they will find valuable in the market. I would try and build a strategy around going and getting that knowledge.
So getting knowledge to become more valuable as a commercial real estate partner for investors.
Absolutely.
Yep. I agree with that. I think acquisition of knowledge is the most important thing. And then after that, taking action. I think there's the biggest issue that I witness, people study, but they're so scared to take any action.
Yeah.
And they, analysis paralysis gets them to never make the moves. And so one of the things I found very useful is joining a tribe, joining a community, a mastermind, and interacting with people on a regular basis who are doing deals, bigger stuff, more exciting stuff. And then, we all monkey do creatures, right? We see others. You saw me doing deals. You're like, I'm going to do these types of deals. Now look at you. You got a lot of very similar deals. That 90,000 square foot deal, I was talking to the lady before your sellers did.
Yeah.
And I was super close to getting it done at $30 a foot.
Oh my gosh.
those guys got it. And
Yeah.
they're awesome guys, obviously, from Cushwake. And then I sold it to you. But it was a really good deal. And I think her husband died and she was selling it as a result. So small world. But obviously, because I'm in the abundance mindset and you're in the abundance mindset, we never worry about deals. There's just, in my opinion, there's so many deals, and our job is not to necessarily like, accumulate as much wealth as possible, but become a person who can solve as many problems as possible. At least that's how I look at things. So I'm constantly walking away from deals when my friends are going after them. Like, hey, you can do it. I got too much going on anyway.
Well, if I can just share for the audience as well, like we're pursuing a deal right now in Plymouth, another one, and you had it under contract most recently. Yeah. The seller is a bit of a tricky seller. We'll say. He's like hard earnest money day one, like cash close. I'm not like everything needs to be so easy for him.
Right.
An unrealistic expectation. I'm like, hey, do you have the environmental report? Like that's a huge risk that we need to quantify. And you guys just shared it with us. You didn't ask for anything. It was just very friendly. And I know it's one that Rustam is continuing to monitor, but I just felt immediately that you were like, what can I give you? I don't want anything in return. So very much appreciated and something that you're doing in practice.
It's difficult when you don't have money or resources and you're struggling to pay rent. How do you have abundance mindset when you're lacking? But at the same time, I found it to be very, very useful to practice that and go out of my way to add value to others and share. And like this deal, dude, there's hundreds of deals. Yeah. There's deals that are better. And my biggest problem today, in confidence, make sure nobody knows, I bought 1 million square feet too many.
Yeah.
So all of the stresses that I have, all of the worries and sleepless nights and trepidations about the future is a byproduct of having done a little too much, more than I needed to have done. We'll see if we'll cut that out or whatever. I mean, look, I'm just happy to stabilize all these deals, but I'm deliberately like trying to not to buy anything except for if you buy this property, I have to do 1031 exchange. Daniel's trying to buy a property from us right now. And you guys bought another property from us recently, so thank you very much.
That was just Andre, actually. On his
own.
Yeah,
you did. Yeah, you see, that's beautiful. Beautiful helping your junior partners to elevate as well.
I get to feel like you.
Yeah,
I get to see people that I help bring up now succeeding independently. Yeah.
So I was going to ask you another thing. So what do you see yourself 5 years from now, Daniel?
I hope at that point in 5 years, we're operating roughly $1 billion of assets under management now.
$1 billion. Wow, that's a huge goal.
Well, we're starting to get plugged in with some more of these institutional equity groups, and I think that it's very attainable. I really love the process and like making everything as programmatic as we can. So nice. I am a little bit sad about the idea of letting go of some of the responsibilities that I have, which at that size would end up being micromanagement. But I'm also really looking forward to the idea of bringing in the right people and then building a community within our company to do it, of the right people in the right seats.
Well, I can tell you one thing. You want $1 billion, you got to get out of Minnesota. Minnesota's not big enough for you to.
I'm aware and ready for that. That's kind of our couple-year plan is to start moving into a few strategically selected other markets.
Nice. All right.
Actually,
good.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Of course.
So the abundance mindset that you talk about, I think is so important. And what I've noticed in my experience is people have completely different impressions of our market, where they're like, it's so exclusionary and nobody's willing to offer any help. It's never been my experience. You were always willing to help. You connected me into that mastermind group years ago. All of those people were willing to help. Did you have help like that too? How did you get to that abundance mindset? And if you had a scarcity mindset initially, how did you break that? Because I feel people so stuck in that. And I'm like, if you could just let go, your life would be easier and you'd be so much more successful.
So I've been listening to and reading a lot of psychology. And when you start from a low point in life, when there's a lot of months left after the end of the money, and you are a professional garage sale scouter and Goodwill hunter, you know what I'm saying? And I had this belief that all rich people are prude and greedy, and I had that belief, and so I thought I was a big, of course, when you were in college, what do? You distribute leaflets and
exactly.
Socialism is the way to go.
Yep.
Long story short, I met my mentor Alex And this guy has everything. He had 1.5 million square foot portfolio at the time. He lives on Lake Minnetonka.
And charisma, if you ask him.
Yeah. And so when I met him at first, I was appalled at how generous he was with information, with knowledge. And he says, there's a deal out there. And I'm too busy for it right now. But if you buy that deal, I can help you. You can make $1 million. To me, that was so strange. Like, why would somebody offer me to make $1 million on a deal that he could have made money on his own? It just doesn't seem right. Something is off. There's a catch.
Yeah.
Well, there was never a catch. It was a real deal. We were supposed to do that deal together. That was my first commercial deal. We were going to do it together. And then 2-3 weeks prior to closing, he bounced. He says, I'm not going to do it. You do it yourself. You'll thank me later. I was like, man, I had to raise another $200,000 to close on that deal. So having witnessed and having experienced it from people who trained me, I was so grateful for him, and I made it my mission to make sure that if I am rich, I'm not going to become a prude, selfish, inconsiderate guy. I want to share with others. And he says, and many of my older mentors say, you got to be generous, you got to be kind, you got to be fair. At the end of the day, it's like playing a game, right? You're not going to take it with you. Effect you have on others is the best currency there is. And after getting a certain amount of capital, net worth, cash flow, everything else is just digits on the screen. Like, the only difference between you and somebody who's making, let's say, $10 million a year or $20 million a year is the fact that they might be flying private.
Right.
But that's it. And it's an ego thing. So to me, I realized, I remember my roots. I remember where I came from. A lot of my relatives and friends are still at that level of, I'm not going to say poverty, but in the scarcity mindset. And all I want to do for the rest of my life is share my knowledge, my wisdom, my experience, my connections with those who want to elevate and give them that opportunity to be able to do deals. And so to me, that's what feeds my soul. And I can tell you one thing. This is unequivocally, I tell it to everybody. I am satiated with real estate. I don't want $1 billion portfolio. I'll tell you one thing. $1 billion portfolio means a lot more problems. What you want to learn to do is handle negative information like a champ. Because I have 5 million square feet right now, and there's problems every day.
Yeah.
There's fire, and there's a lawsuit, and there's somebody fell, and some tenant is pissed off. And I realized, dude, the bigger you get, the more problems you'll be dealing with. And you might be like, you have to get used to the fact that you can lose 100,000. Can you deal with losing 100,000? How would it impact your day?
Yeah.
Now, if you're a bigger guy, then $1 million. Can you lose $1 million in a day? How is it going to impact your psyche? So much of it's psychology. And I was like, all right, I got plenty.
Yeah.
I don't want to stop. And so I'm parlaying all of my knowledge and living vicariously through this hero journey of my students and my mentees. I guess that's the answer.
My other question that leads me to another point that I'm interested in, which is the emotional attachment that we all have to results. Because so much of our decision making is we make the best choice with the information available to us at the time, but then there's the result. What actually happens? It could be a 2% chance, and that 2% chance happens, it's a negative result.
Yeah.
Do you find that you're able to emotionally distance yourself from that and live within the action that you're taking versus the result?
It's hard to remove yourself from the result, especially when the result equals to a negative $300,000. And you have a partner who's like, what the hell are you doing?
Yep.
So, but there is a lot of emotional resilience you will have to, and you have to, grow a thick skin in dealing with problems. When you do value-add real estate, you're dealing with distressed assets, in our case anyway. And if you're not careful, that distress might seep into your personal life.
Now everything's distressed.
Exactly. Because you come home and you're pissed off and upset. No, I mean, look, I'm 10 years older than you, so I'll talk to you hopefully 10 years from now and see how you feel. But I want to learn to live day by day, try to add value to as many people as possible. I'm not hanging it, by the way. I'm not going to stop. I'm just not going to pursue it as aggressively and as crazy as I used to. That's what I want to do. And so for what it's worth, I love the process. I love the game still. But if I put in the effort and somebody else gets the result,
Yeah.
I'm totally okay with it. Like if you buy that deal in Plymouth and you make money, I'll be only happy, and I'll give you all the resources, because guess what? I've done it so many times from the beginning. You bought the property, you fixed it, you sold it. I mean, we own 70, maybe 75 assets right now. We probably bought and sold over 200 because we constantly trade out, you know? But I've realized that there's never going to be end of distress deals. There's never going to be. Oh, the other thing is, we do small bay industrial, but then there's retail. And there's a lot of work in the retail you can do, like adaptive reuse of big box into small bay. And then there's office. I'm working on a project, office project, which I want to talk to you. Maybe we can team up on it. But I think office is going to come back in a different way, as a co-working or whatever. Anyhow, that's my answer to you. Do you have one child right now?
Yeah, I have 2 stepkids and 1 baby.
Any more babies? Or no?
We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an ongoing negotiation.
Work in progress.
I was touring a building, a portfolio actually, that we're going to be making an offer on next week, and they had a bunch of baby stuff up top.
Yeah.
My wife was touring with me because she does all the physical DD, saw it and was like, I think we need to talk about number 4.
Okay,
and I turned to the broker and I'm like, this was an expensive tour.
Hey, that's true legacy right there. You know, especially if you pour all of your, not just love, but knowledge, experience into them. When you look back 20 years from now, you're 40, you're 56 years old. What do you want people to know you as or remember you by? Not that you're going to die, but what do you want to be known for 20 years from now?
Yeah, doing what I said I was going to do consistently. Thinking about other people first before thinking about myself.
Yep.
And then like you, one of the things that gives me great joy is helping people. I call it breaking them out of the matrix, where it's like we're so conditioned that everything needs to happen a certain way. But you actually have a lot more autonomy and freedom to make money a bunch of different ways, in ways that give you joy, that fill you up. So helping people get on that path so that they can break out of the matrix.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, that's a good mission, because if you can elevate others, if the impact you have on others is such a, the most amazing currency there is.
Oh, it's so accretive for everybody.
Yeah.
And I always like to joke. It's like the thought of you and me being competitive with each other in a world where Blackstone is competing. It's like 1,000 of us are never going to meet 10% of that. It's like us little guys need to stick together. There's so much for us to eat.
I think if you focus on solving problems, and whatever problems there are in commercial real estate, which there's a lot right now, I think we're not going to run out of income, especially with onslaught of office towers that we're going to have to figure out what to do with them.
Yeah. Do you have a take on that in general?
We have a 11-story tower in St. Louis that we might convert into apartments.
Cool.
And there's historic credits, there's tax credits. In Minnesota, there is a huge tax credit for Minneapolis, I think, for conversion of office into apartments. I don't know if that law passed or not.
I think it's still, my wife's on the Renaissance Coalition. I think they're working through that still, but I think that that's very likely to happen. The other thing is the affordable tax credits. I don't know if you've looked at LIHTC or if that St. Louis office could qualify as well. But when you start stacking those credits on top of each other, it becomes a pretty compelling deal.
Yeah, so I'm oblivious to all of the residential business because I'm a commercial guy. Superficially understand what's going on, but recognize that without those types of credits, the math just doesn't work because cost of construction is so high.
Yeah. No, I'd love to talk to you more about that offline too. We've got some decent inroads in that space too, because my other business partner, if you recall, is master's in tax law.
Yeah.
All of his friends are some of the biggest LIHTC attorneys in the country. So it's about getting all the people in the right seats, but I think we have a lot of that.
I think that's
solved.
where the opportunity might be. Yeah. Anyhow, well, Daniel, thank you very much for coming. If you guys, how can people find you if they want to contact you, DM me if they want to invest with you or work for you?
Yeah, obsidiangroup.com is our website, but you can email me at daniel@obsidiangroup.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Daniel Karkawski. That's probably the easiest ways.
All right, beautiful. Well, Daniel is one of my friends and really successful guy in Minneapolis. I wish you all the luck. Thank you very much for coming to the podcast, and until next time, thank you guys.
Thank you.